Welcome back, Ink Chasers, to another contest video. This one's for Caleb's cards, and he is doing kind of the opposite of what Ray from Philly did, and he wants to know the worst players of all time, not necessarily the greatest players of all time. And like Ray, he wanted a right-handed, left-handed pitcher, relief pitcher, right-handed, left-handed, and then one for each position. We could do a DH if wanted. I did not do a DH this time around, but I did want to mix it up a little bit, and anybody could jump in and say somebody who played and just did horribly, had a lot of errors or something. But I wanted to make a exception on this one where each player had to be in the majors for 10 seasons or more. So all these players were in the majors for at least 10 years or longer, some longer than that. And as I go through them, I will explain or point that out. So let's start off with the first one. We have right-handed pitcher starting Jose Lima. He was in the majors for 13 years, from 1994 to 2006. In this time, he had 348 games played, with a 89 and 102 record, and a career ERA of 5.26. In 2002, he had a 7-16 record with a 6.65 ERA, and in 2005 he had a 5-16 record with a 6.99 ERA. So that's why he is on my list for one of the worst pitchers of all time. Next up, we have relief right-handed pitcher Todd Van Poppel. Todd Van Poppel was in the majors for 11 years, from 1991 to 2004. In 91, he was one of the best prospects. Everybody was expecting big things from him. The Braves, who actually had number one pick overall, had made the phone call to him and said they wanted to pick him number one overall, but he said, "Don't. I will not sign with you." Then they went on to make that choice of Chipper Jones, and I think that worked out great for him. Van Poppel started out fairly decent, but then from there he just dropped. I've seen this firsthand whenever he played with Texas. But in his 11 years, he had 359 games played with a 40-52 record. His career ERA was a 5.58. In 1996, he had a 9.06 ERA, and in 2002 to 2004, he had a 5.45 or higher ERA. So that's the reasons he's on the list for the relief pitcher. We have here Lefty Stewart as my left-handed pitcher. He was in the league for 10 years, from 1921 to 1935. He had pitched in 279 games, had a 101 and 98 record, so he was actually a winning record, and a 4.19 ERA. Next up, we have Lloyd Brown. He's the relief left-handed pitcher. He had 12 years in the majors, from 1925 to 1940. In that, it was 404 games. He was a 91 and 105 record, with ERA of 4.20. Now on to the fielders. First base, we have Steve Balboni. Now, Steve is an amazing TTMer. He has always signed. He signs one per. It's automatic. You send it and he'll send it back. Great signer. But as far as playing, not so great. he had 11 years in the majors from 1981 to 1993. He had 960 games, 714 hits, 181 home runs. He had 856 strikeouts, and his lifetime batting average was a .229. Next up, we have second base, Del Maxville. Maxville played 14 years in the majors from 1962 to 1975, 1,423 games. He had 748 hits, 6 of those home runs. He went 0 for 22 in 1968 alone. His lifetime batting average was a .217 average. Next up might be a surprise to some. Third base, Brandon Inge. 13-year veteran in the majors from 2001 to 2013. He had 1,532 games played with 1,166 hits, 152 home runs, but he also had 1,306 strikeouts and a lifetime batting average of .233. Next up for shortstop, and shortstop, there's been a lot of bad ones, so it was hard to pick through. We have George McBride, 16-year veteran from 1905 to 1920, 1,660 games played, 1,203 hits, 7 home runs, and in 1917 he batted .181, and in 1918 he batted .132. His lifetime batting average was a .218. Next up, and in my mind, the worst player ever, definitely the worst hitter, Bill Bergen, 11-year veteran from 1901 to 1911, 947 games, 516 hits, 2 of them being home runs. In 1903, he scored his highest batting average ever at 227. His lifetime batting average was .170. Next up, we have outfielder Brian L. Hunter. I know there's 2 Brian Hunters, so this one's Brian L. Hunter. 10 years in the majors from 1994 to 2003. He had 1,000 exact games played, 882 hits, 25 home runs, 581 strikeouts, and a batting average of .264. Next up, outfielder Craig Paquette. Probably said that wrong. Sorry if I did. 11-year veteran, 1993 to 2003, 814 games played, 620 hits, 99 home runs, with 620 strikeouts. He had 3 seasons where he batted under 200. He did end up with a .239 batting average. And the last one on the list for outfield and of the list total is Rob Deere. Now that one might be a surprise to you, but he's an 11-year veteran from 1984 to 1996, 1,155 games, 853 hits, 230 home runs, 1,909 strikeouts, 5 seasons batting under 200. He did end up with a lifetime batting average of .270. Again, all of these, hey, they made it to the majors and they stayed up longer than 10 years, so that's way better than I've done. So I would be happy to be on this list, but I'm sure they're not. So again, check out Caleb's Cards, and as always, like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.